Okay, Mishlei 1923. Yiras Hashem l'chaim v'savea yalin bal yipaked ra. That's a hard one to translate a little bit.
Fear of God is to life.
Yeah, fear of Hashem is for life or to life. Yeah, I guess so.
And
Toward life. Yeah.
satisfaction.
Yeah. So this I don't even know how to say. Like, is it satisfaction or is it one who is satisfied? I really don't know. And we'll just say satisfaction for now. Satisfaction. Yalin.
Sleeps.
Yeah. So yalin is often used for sleep, but I think there's more primary meaning that's based on like lina.
Like day.
Yeah, staying overnight. Yeah. So so satisfaction. Yeah.
Is it a Lina's Hawaii?
I think lina does mean to stay overnight. It means to lodge. Yeah. Lina wait, somewhere in Braces it says that. But anyway, yeah. Let me actually just.
My only knowledge of it is Lina's Hawaii.
Okay, let me just look it up in the All Torah dictionary just to see. Suvin.
Is it a dictionary or concordance?
They have both. Yeah, you can click on it and it'll have the dictionary and then the link to the pesukim, and then you could just click a different tab for the concordance. Yeah. Okay. We had an incident last night, which was I was reading it, and my Mishlei Rabbeinu on a spidey sense said something was wrong, and so I looked at the critical edition, and they added the word "low."
What?
So like it was like yeah. So you can't
Wait, into the Rabbeinu.
into Rabbeinu. Yeah. So the Rabbeinu Yonah there's two editions of the Rabbeinu Yonah. There's like the standard ones, and then there's the critical one. The critical one's been around for a long time, so I'm kind of surprised that they don't use it here. But yeah, so I say if you're using Rabbeinu Yonah on All Torah, then be wary. Yeah.
It's also true by Avos.
Oh yeah.
There's like secret
Yeah. That's messed up. Yeah.
There was one where it's quotes from pasuk and it had the same thing.
Oh yeah.
The pasuk was as Yiras Hashem Yechabed, and the other edition said as Yiras Hashem Lo Yechabed.
There you go. Yeah. So lean or loon is to. Okay, so this is actually good to know. Lodge / pass the night. That's one meaning. Second meaning is to abide or remain. And then the third meaning, those are the only two meanings. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we'll say satisfaction. Let's just say lodges, because I think that's where the first meaning comes from, and then we could like branch out if we. So satisfaction lodges. Bal yipaked ra.
Doesn't remember.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I feel like you have to add in some words in between, like either and or such that or something like that. And satisfaction lodges. I'm just going to add in brackets the word and will not be remembered for bad or evil. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it in the reflexive?
It is in the not reflective but passive. Like yeah, I think that's what you call it. Yipaked is be remembered.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we have a crossroads here. Okay. Before we even start analyzing the pasuk, and I'm fine going either way. Whenever, yeah.
So grammatically, could also be read will not be remembered badly. I'm not even sure if there's a difference in meaning.
I don't know if it can.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
What was
What was it? For bad. Or for evil. Yeah. Actually, let me read the English translations here. Let's look at Sadigon first of all. Sadigon says, Yiras Hashem l'chaim, fear of Hashem is for life. V'hamarbe lihios davak ba. Wow, that's the interpretation of Savea, I guess. One who is excessive in clinging to it, in clinging to Yiras Hashem. Lo yipaked bira. He will not be remembered in badness, with badness. Don't know. Targum, I'm probably not going to. Well, I'll read it. I'm probably not going to scrutinize it. Dechalte delaka l'chaye. So that's just a translation. Man desavea mine. One who's satisfied from it. That's interesting. One who's satisfied from Yiras Hashem.
That's similar to Stadion.
Yes, similar. Yeah, I guess I like it even better because it's used preserving the satisfaction. Yeah. Nevus. What is nevus? Don't even know what that means. We'll have to look it up if we're interested. But it sounds like he's adding that in also. Velo nifkod.
That's what he's saying for yelling.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah,
Must be.
yeah, Father Sadio said for the Savea Yalin, he said Market League stuff.
Sorry, say it one more time.
Um, when the Sadio said the Market League of Stavaka,
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't just for the Savea.
Oh, that's Sophia Yalin. Yeah, you're right. V'lo nifkod bishta, and then that part is just the translation. Okay, so article says, oops. Okay, article says the fear of Hashem brings life. Brings life. That's okay. A little loose, but whatever. Such a person will rest sated. So they say yalin is ooh. Rest is how they translate yalin. Sated is savea, and not be remembered for evil. Living knock, I guess I just forgot to type in. And Alder says, fear of the Lord is for life, and one rest sated, untouched by harm. One rest sated, untouched by harm. Yeah. All right. So here's the crossroads. Okay. Whenever I encounter a pasuk that has Yiras Hashem in it, I pretty much invariably try to revisit what the definition of Yiras Hashem is in Mishlei. And there are two main sources for that. There's 1:7, which is like the first real pasuk of Mishlei, and then there's 15:33, which is the best definition of Yiras Hashem. So I'm game for either trying to do this pasuk and not defining Yiras Hashem, or like using whatever definitions we have. But I'm also fine going to try to, because I don't think we've had a pasuk about Yiras Hashem yet.
We just go over those chicken.
Yeah, the pesukim themselves. Yeah. So I'll give you. I did print out another packet just in case that go there. So and you will need it also because it's not in your volume. Where's two? Oh. Yeah, I'll just open it up here. Okay, so the first one.
I actually have like explanation that isn't contingent upon the definition of your.
Okay, so then again, I'm fine trying that out also.
Yeah.
But I do think we need to take one approach or the other. So Yiras Hashem Reshis Das. So the is your yeshiva Reshit something, or is it just Reshit?
Reshit Yerushalayim.
Oh, fine, okay. All right, yeah. Because there's what's the preschool next to my apartment called? Is it Reshis Chachma or Reshis Das? I thought that was a great name for preschool.
I didn't.
Das, yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't remember, but it was like every time I see it, I'm like, wow, that's a great name.
Yeah.
I don't notice it.
Yeah. Yiras Hashem Reshis Das. So fear of Hashem is so you translate, how do you translate Reshis Das?
Beginning.
Yeah, beginning of knowledge. Yeah, right. Beginning of knowledge.
You need discernment.
It's like foundation of knowledge.
I'd say that that's an interpretation more than a translation, but I don't disagree with it. The other translation though is like Reshis means the best of, like Reshis, Bikarecha or whatever,
The first among.
First and foremost probably is like the closest English translation. Yeah. So and I think it's like even split among the Rishonim about how they translate it. Okay, Chachma u'musar evilim bazu, wisdom and discipline, I guess, fooled bazu. Yeah, degrade, despise. Yeah, so it's either going to be like an action of degradation, or like degrades me is like an action, despise is like internally, So and it could be both. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's the first pasuk, and then the last one is on the last page. This is the last pasuk in what do you call it? Chapter 15. Yiras Hashem musar chachma v'lifnei kavod anava. Fear of Hashem is the discipline of wisdom. You could say rebuke of wisdom, but I don't like that. I think discipline of wisdom is better. V'lifnei kavod anava, and before honor or glory is humility. Yeah. So what do you want to do?
Good question.
Yeah.
Why are you not including pasuk Reshis Chachma Yiras Hashem?
Because that is in Tehillim.
Right.
Yeah. And there are midrashim about this, like father, like son, like they both included a pasuk like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think you could make a good argument for why he doesn't say. For why he doesn't say that here. Because if he said chachma, then he wouldn't be able to say the second half, because that also has chachma.
Right.
So he has to use a different word. So that's if you say like it's lav davka das and and chachma. Yes, what do you want to do? Do you want to try working on a definition of Yiras Hashem before we go into our pasuk, or do you want to just do the pasuk without? And both, I think, are viable. So it is entirely up to your preference.
Before we go into approach,
Yeah.
do you think that like looking at pasuk is going to lead to like an understanding of yours?
It's possible. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. My only hesitance, I guess, is because it is clear. See, ordinarily I'm against the approach of like defining something elsewhere and then plugging it into the pasuk. But because Yiras Hashem is like the thesis of Mishlei and like the founding thing, I feel like it is reasonable to rely on his definitions. So that's one thing. The other thing that leads me to say we should define it first is that Yiras Hashem can be defined in so many different ways. Like on the one end of the spectrum, for example, you have Yiras HaOnesh, which is like the lowest level of Yiras Hashem, and then on the highest level, you have like the Rambam's Yiras Hashem, which has to do with like knowledge of God and the universe and stuff. So I feel like just given how varied the different concepts are, then it might be worth it to define it. But yeah.
I think I want to like put my house on the table first.
Sure.
I think it's like it's not like a whole idea or anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. And then when did Joey, were you gonna say something?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I would be down to define yours.
Okay. So let's get your thoughts on the table for 1923, and then we'll take a detour.
So, person who has Yiras Hashem, whatever that is, I'm gonna say it's some sort of objective good.
Yeah.
In some way. So, I'd say not only is it good, but person who's satiated with it, which I also don't know what that means. People will recognize that, and they won't. And then when they're thinking about person, they will recognize that they're living in line with something, with whatever this is, and they say even if like something, even if this causes them to be like slightly, they'll be like understanding or forgiving.
So you're saying the not be remembered for evil is like by other people?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's I hear that. You know.
That's basically what I'm saying.
Okay. Sure. I maybe what we should do actually. I think it'd be more prudent to raise the questions and problems on this, so that when we are thinking about Yiras Hashem, then things will have a higher chance of clicking.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do the questions and problems on our pasuk first.
So what is Yiras Hashem?
Yeah. So what is Yiras Hashem? I mean, these should be very easy questions, right? What is Chaim? What is the relationship between Yiras Hashem and Chaim? Severe yelling is just a weird phrase. Yeah.
Severe yelling, question mark.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say what does severe yelling mean, and then what is its relationship? I guess we'll fine. Be remembered by whom?
Yeah.
Right? Or not be remembered, right? Is it not be remembered? Val, yeah. Not be remembered by whom?
Is this not remembered at all, or is this remembered for good?
Right, yeah. So what, let's say, what does Val Yipakid Ra mean? Does it mean specifically not for Ra or not at all? Yeah.
Are we saying, I know we're translating Yipake, we're saying it to be remembered,
Yeah.
but I kind of understand it to be more like recalled. Is that like?
I'm fine with either one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What is the Targum uses literally the same word, so that doesn't help us. So side you going. Yeah. Although you see, Steven says Inyan Zikaron v'Hashgacha. So I guess recalled is probably slightly better. What did you mean when you differentiate between remember and recalled?
I think recalling is like particularly like thinking about this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it's just a general memory of it.
Meaning like, let's say like if some famous person dies, they will be remembered as, that's not like an instant in time, whereas to recall means like, I will bring you to mind.
Right.
Yeah, so I think recall probably is better for Matustian at least. Oh, by the way, you see the Matustian for Yalin, Inyan Hasmada. So he's saying it's not, it just means like to abide, right? Like to be there on a continual basis. So we said, what does Bali Pocket Ra mean? And then I guess, what is the relationship? We got a double question here. What is the relationship between the two halves of the second half and between the first and second half? Right? Because even the last two halves of the second half don't really seem to be related. Savea Yalin, Bali Pocket Ra. Obviously, that's the logical conclusion.
And going further than that, and this is a question I already asked, but the first half, what's the relationship between the first half of the first half of the second half and the second?
First, yeah. Is that just the same thing as saying
Sevilla
between the two halves of the second half?
No, I'm saying between Sevilla and Yelling.
Oh, so then, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yes, yeah. We'll just ask what are all the fractions? Yeah. Okay, I think that's pretty good. All right, so now your system. Okay, so let's do 1-7. Okay, because that's the main thing. Yeah. Yiras Hashem Reishis Das Kachon was revealing Bazu. Yeah. Right.
Are we asking the same question?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm just not gonna write them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is pasuk the same as yours?
Yeah. Or wait, was that the only or? Or is it the same as das? Now, are you asking that because of a structural consideration? Like that there are two different halves of the pasuk? Or yeah, two. Yeah. So that's a good move, right? Meaning that that can be a stand-in for one of the terms in the first half. Yeah, and I do think it makes more sense to assume it's a stand-in for Yiras Hashem, especially given 1533, which literally says Yiras Hashem Musar Chachma. So I think that's a better assumption. Yeah.
What is the structure of this pasuk? Is it opposite? Is it
right? Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, what is Reishis Das, right? Because if you take it as the beginning of knowledge, that doesn't seem to be true. Because first of all, it seems, and again, this is the difficult thing. See, this is the difficult thing about the first 9 prokim of Mishlei, is that like I feel like a lot of what he says you have to make recourse to other knowledge for, which is fine, but like depending on what premises you're using, then you'll get different results. Whereas like in Mishlei itself, I feel like you can derive everything from the pasuk in many cases. So what I was going to say is like I'm walking in with the assumption here that you need a certain amount of knowledge to have Yiras Hashem. And if that's the case, then it's not literally the Reishis Das. So then you have to see some other Reishis, like what you're saying of foundation, or what we were saying as like choices.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is Das?
Yeah, what is Das, right? Yeah.
I mean, if it's Yiras and Onesh,
yeah,
you don't really need knowledge.
We need knowledge of the Onesh. Right? And that is knowledge. You need
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like if you take it absolutely literally, then it's not gonna make sense. Yeah.
It's an appeal.
Yeah. What is an avil? Why do they despise Chacham and Musar? Yeah. It's pretty.
What's the difference between an appeal and a seal?
That's kind of a foreign question because the pasuk doesn't talk about seal.
Yeah. No. This is in general.
Okay. Fine. Yeah.
Also, what's the difference between pasuk?
Yeah. What's the difference between Chacham and Musar? Yeah. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. Okay. So should we think about it first? Because I included the Mefarshim because the Mefarshim go through a lot of stuff, and we'll have to decide also a detour within the detour whether we want to take the scenic route or the intuitive route. Those are the two options in driving. Yeah.
I said let's spend the next 2 weeks on this.
I mean, it's not a bad theme for Pesach. I mean, this is your isn't this a statement of purpose somewhere in the Makos? Yeah. Is it? Not Das. I don't think Das. Well, no, yeah. That's definitely a statement of purpose. I'm thinking though by Barad. Doesn't he? Oh, yeah. The people who who go inside,
Oh,
right?
Right.
Hayare Devar, but maybe that's Devar Hashem. I just want to see. This is Arad. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's Devar Hashem. It says Hayare es Devar Hashem me'avdei Pharaoh, Hanis es Avadav es Mignei Elabatim. Yeah.
One could argue that it is Yiras Hashem.
Yeah, yeah.
Depends.
That definitely seems to like Yiras Onish.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have an idea which does seem like it should come before even Yiras Onish.
Sure.
That if Yiras Hashem is like an idea, like an acknowledgement that there's like a world outside of you
Yeah.
that you can't necessarily control everything about.
Yeah.
Then if that's like I guess the idea would be that's a preliminary knowledge of that
Yeah.
world outside of you.
Yeah.
So you can only have Yiras Onish if you recognize that there are things in the outside world that you can control.
Okay, good. That's my working understanding of this pasuk. Yeah. Yeah. So let's just spell it out a little bit more. So da'as then would be what kind of knowledge?
Anything that you think is
Yeah, I think so, right? I think it's all knowledge, right? And we're saying Yiras Hashem is a recognition that there is a reality outside of yourself that you can't control,
Mhm.
or a reality outside of yourself, I guess is it's all included in that. Yeah. And how
so you can't control the principles.
yeah.
yeah, the principles, yeah. And how is that Yiras Hashem?
Because Hashem is the one who made that world.
Yeah.
It's like his will basically that you're.
Yeah, I think so. And then I think on that basis you could define Chacham and Musar. And explain why Yevilim hate it. Yeah.
Changing yourself to suit the world as opposed to change the world to suit yourself.
Yeah, that's the general, I think, second half. Yeah. I think, but if we wanted to define Chachma, if we want to say that Chachma and Musar are synonymous with Yiras Hashem, or again, if you take it from 1533, Musar Chachma as a standard, Yiras Hashem, Musar Chachma. So then can we define Musar Chachma on that basis? On the basis of your definition? What?
That's two different things. Musar Chachma?
Yeah, defining each of them as two different things, but then it is interesting that in this pasuk it puts them side by side, whereas in 1533 it defines the relationship between them. Musar Chachma.
What just grammatically? What does that mean?
Discipline of wisdom.
Okay. Yeah. So right, wisdom seems to be just like understanding the way that external world works.
Yeah.
Whatever, like as you said.
Yeah.
Principles. And Musar is then understanding, or I don't know if it's understanding or maybe the actual changing yourself.
Yeah.
Like ways of acting in.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Also, yeah,
Like applying it to yourself.
applying it to yourself. Yeah. Yeah, meaning so the Chachma is referring to the theoretical component of just the knowledge of the principles, and then Musar is the regulation of one's actions on the basis of those principles.
Is there also a connotation of like learned principles?
Yeah, that is also in Mishlei. Like when you talk about a Chacham is someone who received knowledge from someone else, whereas a Navan is someone who generates it on his own. Here, I don't feel like that is the way the Chacham is being used here. It just doesn't seem like that. Especially, I mean, you could say Musar Chachma. Okay, if you defined Yiras Hashem as, let's hold off on that for a second. There is a way. I don't think it's the way that we're taking right now. So I just want to develop this fully and then go back. Yeah.
I think the way that Yiras Hashem is specifically both Chachma and Musar is that if you just have the knowledge, if you just have the knowledge of principles that sums it up, but it's not like affecting your decision making, that's not like Yiras.
That's just Chachma.
This is Chachma.
Yeah.
You understand the
right.
better. The Yiras effect is affecting you, and if you just are like changing your behavior based on like principles that you don't see the chachma behind, then that's not like knowledge of. There's no relation to like the system that Hashem said.
Yeah,
it's just being proud.
yeah. There's a good pasuk that I think gives a phrase that's the alternative of Musar Chachma, which is a pasuk in 1622, which says Makor Chaim Seichel Ba'alav. Okay, so the intellect of Ba'alav, those in
Like the
intellect of its possessors. I'm trying to like is the source of life, but that's not the part I want. Umusar evilim ivelas. And the discipline of fools is foolishness. So you could be disciplined by foolishness, or you could be disciplined by chachma. So chachma without musar is not Yiras Hashem because it's not affecting you; it's just in your mind. And then musar without chachma is just like in many ways just like an animal. Like an animal could be you could just train an animal to do anything. It's not like really responding to reality, to a perception of reality. But Yiras Hashem is the combo. Yeah.
We talked a little bit more about this.
I was gonna say on that point that it's only when you have both. Like if this might be what you're saying, but it's only when you have both of them that you're actually that it's actually a recognition of the external.
I think so. I think that's what I'm saying. It sounds right, but yeah, and I think now we actually have to qualify Das a little bit. That Das is for lack of a better term, real knowledge, meaning that that you can certainly have like abstractions or verbal knowledge or whatever without Yiras Hashem.
Yeah, like knowledge of Star Wars.
Yes, for instance. Not that that's not real. Yeah. Were you so asking about the second half?
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. So Evilim then.
Yeah.
So who are they and why do they score in Chachma and Musar?
They're people who aren't recognizing that they're like in.
Yeah.
Like.
Right.
So that they want to just be able to like make things happen.
Yeah, I would slightly modify it and not say that they don't recognize it, but say that they recognize it and hate it. Because I think if they didn't recognize it, then they wouldn't hate Chachma and Musar. Yeah. And it's the fact that whenever you have Chachma and Musar, it brings to mind the idea that they are subject to a reality that is superior to them. Mm-hmm. And that brings up this bidoy, like this desire to be mavaza, like and reject that. And it's only because they do recognize it in a certain respect. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that they don't like the implication of the recognition that they have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just to clarify. It isn't that they're consciously recognizing it and then being like, no, I don't want to do this, right?
I mean, it takes that form in certain cases. I don't know what. Are you saying it's like davka, not that, or you're saying it includes more than that?
I guess I'd say it includes more.
Meaning, like, I don't think a lot of times they recognize it. Like, I don't think they recognize, let's say, like when they don't want to wear their seatbelt, I don't think they recognize that as I'm rejecting Yiras Hashem, But when their father gives them musar, or says keep mitzvos, then they do consciously reject it, and they reject it as like Yiras Hashem, Yeah. So I think this is actually good enough to go back to our pasuk now. I mean, again, we could go on more, but I think this is like, this is pretty good, right? We can look at the other pasuk, yeah. So the other pasuk is Yiras Hashem Musar Chachma, which we have now, right?
So you can only have both.
Yeah. The combo is Yiras Hashem, right? One without the other is not, because it's not going to affect you from the mind.
Right.
Yeah. V'lifnei kavod anava. That's the question then. So what kavod is it talking about? What anava is it talking about? Certainly seems like you could definitely have types of kavod without anava. So this seems to be, you have to say that you have to qualify this somehow. Like there are people who are honored who are idiots, and who are not humble.
Wait, and this is just factor. Lifnei kavod means the person, like you are, like the other person has kavod or you have kavod?
Oh, I assumed it was you.
Like you're before. Oh, you.
Like, if let's say you want kavod, this is saying that before you get kavod, you have to have another. Maybe there's other ones also,
I
but
was gonna same question. I think
Yeah.
it was that saying like
yeah,
when you are standing before a person who has code or before a code in
Yeah.
general, you're gonna have.
oh, that's also interesting. I mean, I guess if you wanted to say that it's like kavod Hashem or something like that, then you can say that. Yeah, I guess it should be an open question. Yeah, I was looking at hold on. Yeah, look at Sadigon, top right. Yiras Hashem Mutar Chachma, Mutar HaChachma, the Mutar of, I don't know what he's getting by the hay. In the footnote 17, Shachachma Mechanechat Es Adam Liot Yiras Hashem. Okay, fine. Chachma trains a person to be Yiras Hashem. And then he says, Ikvut HaAnava HaKavod. And on the heels of Anava is kavod, or following Anava is kavod. And then Rashi similarly says, Anava Goremes Shah Kavod Ba. Anava causes the kavod to come. Yeah. Yeah, but the question is, what does it mean and what does it have to do with the first half?
Yeah.
Seems like a different subject. Well, check. I could have sworn I did this in the summer with Ken, but let's see if I wrote it down. $15.33. No, I guess I didn't. Yeah, so the first half we have already, but then the second half is what we need to figure out. And we're reading it. We said there's two ways to read it. Rashi and Sadi going to read it as like kavod comes after anava. So anava comes before kavod in that sense. And then Zev and Joe were wondering if it could mean in the presence of kavod is anava. Yeah.
Didn't we have another pasuk that we specifically this, and we had this discussion?
And do you remember the list name?
It sounds
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's always changed to the same.
Probably be better off looking through like a Tanakh instead of like looking through every single page at one time.
Yeah. I was gonna do this.
Yeah, I use that as a Tanakh most of the time.
the only two things you need.
Yeah. What about tomorrow? You can
learn Mishlei just by learning tomorrow.
And we also have to define another.
Maybe that might think, I guess, that certain problem helps you like make decisions, but isn't necessarily gonna like affect how people see you.
Okay, yeah, I like that approach.
Like if you, yeah, right. Like I guess if you have the another of not establish it, but I guess if Yiras Hashem is like another to the world, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what.
Okay, so I'm gonna take the way what we're saying and just try to say another from that. So another is recognizing your true place in reality.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a necessary. I don't know if you want to say it's a cause or an effect of Yiras Hashem, but you can't have Yiras Hashem without another. Like your another is going to progress in line with your Yiras Hashem because you're recognizing what place you have in reality, and that will bring kavod. And you're giving an incentive, or you're talking about why pasuk is bringing in kavod because of a havamina that
Yeah, you might think like it's just sort of like it's a Machiavellian
Yeah.
or like like there are these tools and I can just utilize them to get what I want, like do things.
Yeah.
But like it's actually and like people might hate me for it, but at least I'll have what I want.
Yeah.
Like I know it's the opposite. Like not only do you get what you want, but people you for it.
Yeah. I hear that approach. I like it. I'm partly distracted because I was trying really hard to make a really bad pun of Evilim Bazoo. Mock Evilian, but I failed. Yeah, versus the thought count. Yeah,
Yeah. The thought was not offensive.
yeah. You gonna say something?
Yeah. So לפני שברי בפלי.
Oh yes.
Right.
לפני כבוד אליך.
Oh, we did. You're right. You're right. Okay, well, that was in 18.
Yeah, it's 18.
Okay. Wow, that was early on. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Okay. I'd forgotten that was a pasuk. No clue what we said there, but I'm glad we had the discussion.
I remember we had a very interesting explanation that had to do with translating the listeners in the presence of.
Oh yes.
I remember the conversation about.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
but I didn't remember what.
Yeah. I'm glad we don't remember it because we have it there here. So could we unify the pasuk according to what you're saying then? Like I'll tell you the vibe I get from the approach you're taking is kind of like the Yirmiyahu thing of Al Yishala Chacham B'Chachmaso, V'Al Yishala Gibor B'Gbraso, V'Al Yishala Ashir B'Ashro, right? So a wise person shouldn't glorify himself, shouldn't praise himself for his wisdom, and a strong person shouldn't praise himself for his strength, and a wealthy person shouldn't praise himself for his wealth. Im bezot yitala hamitala. Only in this can one who praises himself praise himself. Haskell v'yado osi, knowing and comprehending me. Yeni Hashem oseh chesed mishpat u'tzedakah ba'aretz, because I am Hashem who does kindness, right, justice, and righteousness on the earth. Keep elechavasim Hashem. So there, it's putting it also in a kavod framework of like, you want to be praised. You want to be glorified. That's like a natural human desire because you are a creature that has an ego. You want that. You want recognition, and so it's saying, and that's also what the Avil wants. I mean, the Avil doesn't want recognition. He wants prominence. He wants prominence in reality. You know. So in some ways, this is kind of like a companion pasuk to addressing what the Avil wants, which is Avil wants greatness and thinks that the road to greatness is asserting or maintaining his own feeling of like primacy in reality to the exclusion of like being bound by reality, and that's just going to end in disaster. And what this is saying is, so in other words, like this: if you are a chacham, you'll recognize that that's not a productive route. But then the lingering question, the question that's yelling is like, what about my kavod? You know, and that's what this is saying, is that there will be a kavod that emerges from this that you will get. And the irony is that by the time you get to this point, I feel like you're not interested in kavod anymore. Like Moshe Rabbeinu is not interested in kavod. You know, like he is an anav and he's not interested in kavod, but as an incentive, there's got to be a good word, probably in psychology, for an incentive that takes you on a path that dissolves the very incentive itself, you know, like kind of like lo lishma and lishma, like, you know, that's how it works there also. But I feel like that's the type of thing that it's saying here, is like it's talking to a person who is not an anav, but who recognizes that Yiras Hashem is the correct path and still wants the kavod. And this would be one deterrent of thinking, well, I'm not going to get the kavod, or I'm not, you know, that's the lingering thing, you know? Yeah.
And those types of incentives, is it like that? Does that work? Like, is that a good like incentive to go down because like you can't get the thing you want anyway, so you might as well. Like, what? Why is that like?
So I think it only works though because it is true enough to actually motivate you. Meaning, if it was just like a placebo, I don't really think it would work. You know, like there is a kavod that people get from this. It's just that by the time you become an anav, you're not interested in kavod. You know,
Yeah.
so like it has to be true, I think,
Yeah.
in order to work.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd say either this is gonna happen, and then you're like, if it's all this, either it's gonna happen that you're not gonna want to cover it anymore, and then you won't care one way or the other. Or you will still care, and then you'll have to cover it, you know.
Yeah, right. And there is another category that is like what you're saying, which I don't remember the Gemara, the actual punchline, but it was like the goy came to Hillel and said, convert me on the condition that I become a Kohen Gadol. So he was like, okay, let's do it. Teaches him all this Torah, he converts, and then finally, like, he gets to like Parshas Emor or whatever, and he's like, wait a minute, a ger can't be a Kohen Gadol, and he's like, aha, but you learn Torah, you know. So like that's like that would be the thing that this is not, you know, yeah, and it does work, but it's not gonna like it could fail if someone finds out like the thing is not really true, you know, yeah. But I like the way you said it, though, is that either you're still attached to kavod, in which case you're getting it from this, or it works and you progress to the point where you're not interested in kavod anymore, and then it works. So, yeah. Yeah. So now if you put the two together, the two pesukim in Mishlei, the 1:7 and 15:33, then you basically get this idea that a person has this feeling of ego, or this ego, really, not the feeling of ego, but this ego that it's a very threatening, overwhelming idea of the fact that you are not the primary reality, you know? So you could take one of two directions. You could either take the direction of mocking that and deriding it and distancing yourself from that, in which case you'll get lots of consequences that remind you of your true place in reality, and it's not going to work out, you know? And so you won't live a life of pleasure and you won't live a life of ego. Or you can follow the path of Das, you know, or Yiras Hashem, really. We didn't really explain how why he frames it in terms of Rashis Das, though. Let's just take the path. You take the path of Yiras Hashem, which is the true path to kavod, because you're actually, we also didn't explain that. You're recognizing, okay, we did explain why that's the best path, because you're actually like, you know, subordinating yourself to reality rather than trying to futilely get reality subordinate itself to you, you know? And so you'll get the better results. And this pasuk is telling you that you're going to get kavod from it. Which are we saying is a social kavod?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It is a social kavod. We didn't explain how, but people can admire that, you know. You also get all the types of kavod that come from the successes of decision making. You know, like if you want wealth, you got wealth. If you want chachma, you got chachma. If you want friends, you got friends. You know, that's really what the promise of Mishlei is. Yeah.
I think just even more, just like essentially, like people will like see you as like an adult, I guess,
Yeah.
as opposed to, like someone who's like facing
Yeah.
up, so I guess,
Yeah.
as opposed to someone who's like hiding from it.
Right.
Even just that.
Yeah, that's a big kavod thing also. Yeah. Yeah. People can sense the childishness of denying reality in other people. They don't understand themselves. Yeah. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's let these ideas roll around, and tomorrow we'll come back to our pasuk, to whatever we at 19:23, and then maybe that'll help us refine. Let's actually start with our pasuk tomorrow, and then let these ideas help us refine our understanding of that. Yeah. Okay. Good. This entire time I'm thinking.